Funding for This Is Nashville comes from you, our listeners, and Music City Prep Clinic, Nashville-based provider for PrEP, and offering comprehensive sexual health services in an environment designed to be safe, professional, and shame-free. Learn more at musiccityprep.org.
I'm Khalil A. Colonna, and this is Nashville. As he does every month, Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell is here to talk about what he's working on, what's happening with Metro government, and to take calls from you, his constituents. If it's important to you today, you have the chance to talk about it with Mayor O'Connell. And then later on this hour, we're going to hear from Jaffee Judah about his path to environmental justice advocacy and his work for his nonprofit, Recycle and Reinvest. So we want to welcome everyone back to This is Nashville. Mayor O'Connell, thanks for being here.
I'm glad to be here, and I would say today's episode is maybe the most bittersweet of all.
Yes, it is. Listeners, if you haven't heard, next week is going to be my last show hosting This is Nashville. It has been a remarkable journey. There's more to say about that a little bit later, but I do want to thank you, Mayor O'Connell, for taking this. You know, it's funny, the idea came up. Someone sent me an audio clip from your inaugural address. And at the end, you quoted my sign off, "Be good to each other." Yep. And they said, "Oh, this is great. This is great for the show." And then we were thinking, and then pretty soon after, our managing editor, Tasha A.F. Limley, came on, and she's like, "Maybe we should do something where we talk to the mayor. I think the New York mayor does that." And people were kind of questioning, would Mayor O'Connell do it? I said, well, if he quotes me, I think maybe we could get him to do it. We reached out, you agreed, and it has been something wonderful for the city. And so thank you for being open to this.
Yeah, we've gotten great feedback. I've gotten great feedback personally. I think it's been really interesting to hear from your listenership about how engaged people are, certainly in this segment, but I think also just in This is Nashville as a format. I mean, I'm excited about y'all's next guest. I've known Jaffee for years, and that they're working on a cool project. And I think the ability to have this many interesting conversations about the city of Nashville for this many years has been great. But I will say, I think we're gonna try to pitch a twist on the format where it's just the mayor just tells you. We'll just do it solo. I'll come in, just
that'd be great.
Yeah, monologue for.
I'll definitely tune in, and every once in a while, I may even call. And if you want to talk with Mayor O'Connell, call us at 615-760-2000. That's 615-760-2000. And here it is. Always remember that the mayor and his staff are human beings, just like you and me. So respect is a must. If you're elated or if you're frustrated, that is totally cool. Just show some respect when expressing your thoughts and feelings. Again, that number is 615-760-2000. 615-760-2000. Okay, so on the topic of property appraisals, Nashville property owners, they receive an appraisal every 4 years. Yesterday, the Nashville Banner reported that earlier in the week, some Nashvillians could see the new appraisal amounts online, even though they hadn't been formally released yet. Yesterday, that new information disappeared.
Yeah.
Question is, what's going on here, and have you been in touch with Davidson County Property Assessor Vivian Wilhoit about it?
Yes, we have, and I mean, my hope is that this is just one of those moments that people have some grace over, where I think our, ITS and the assessor's office were working together, and it was just a case where I think a switch got flipped a little early, but people will know Assessor Wilhoit and her work in the community to get out in all corners of the city, north, south, east, and west, to make sure people understand the appraisal process and what it means. And ultimately what it is her office goes out, to your point, every 4 years and tries their best to take a look at the landscape of Nashville and understand two things fundamentally. One, the value of the land, basically the property itself, and then the improvements on it. So if you've got a house, if you've got a commercial building, they are doing their best to look at the market, the city, and understand those values.
Now, Assessor Vivian Wilhoit, she said that, quote, reappraisal is a revenue neutral procedure, and that it's not there to raise money for the city, but the amount of property tax that a person pays does depend on their appraisal. Will some property taxes go down if others go up with this?
Typically, that is what you see. And so I'll say there are multiple normal processes that, I'd say over the past 15 years, we've had a little bit of a bumpier stretch for a variety of reasons. Everything from the Great Recession to, I think, actually a previous transit scenario, COVID, that have taken us off the ordinary process of you do the appraisal. To the assessor's point, she and her team are out there just to do that assessment process. As a result of what happens next, there's a scenario where, like we've been on a trajectory where across the city, broadly speaking, property values have gone up on the whole, which over time has meant that people's property tax rate has come down because the next step is what is called equalization. Basically, the city cannot, by state law, capture a windfall when property values go up. So if she came back and looked at it and let's say 90% of properties in Nashville had actually increased in value, we don't just naturally capture that. The property tax rate is actually required by state law to go back to revenue neutral. But those appraisal cycles tend to be when Metro government has absorbed the cost of governing, looked at the growth that has happened over the next 4 years, and fundamentally, you tend to do budgets in the city based on a property tax rate adjustment, usually more recently an increase, that then lets you govern for the next 4 years.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're going to take a phone call. We got Christy in Nashville. Christy, thank you for calling and being with us. What would you like to ask Mayor O'Connell?
Yes, hi. I was wondering if you had any real solid plans on the next location for Nashville General Hospital.
We've been talking about this for a long time. I will say we had, I think, some incompatible outlooks on an original proposal from previous hospital leadership on a Metro Center site, but we've got a group in the mayor's office ready to move on this, and so we are expecting to go through the evaluation process here that we're expecting to model pretty similarly on what was a very successful process for Judge Calloway and juvenile court clerk Lionel Matthews' vision for what happened after the Juvenile Justice Center evolved into what will now be the Nashville Youth Campus for Empowerment. That process took a little while to look at land discovery and evaluate what their vision was. And so we're huddling up with the Nashville General Hospital Board of Directors, who will be deeply involved. They are talking about the search process for the next CEO, and I imagine that person will be deeply involved in this. Our office, we've got a variety of community members. So we haven't picked a site. We were wanting to get to this point where we could bring all these parties together and take a look at things that have actually been hard to discover about the operations of the hospital for the past several years. And we just got a really tough audit that we had to go get $10 million that was not in our budget to repair. And so as we get through that repair process, we will be eagerly kicking off the next phase of the hospital.
Christy,
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much for your call, Christy. Have a beautiful day, okay?
Thanks, you too. Be kind.
Bye. Is there a timeline?
Well, so I'd say when we took office, the biggest clock that we could hear ticking was there is a 2027 lease expiration with Meharry Medical College that actually owns the property where the hospital has had its primary operations. However, we've continued to have really good conversations with Meharry, and I think what we've heard loudly and clearly from council members, community members, is that this is an important partnership, that we don't want to separate Nashville General Hospital from Meharry Medical College. We also don't want any partner to Nashville General Hospital to have kind of an outsized influence or impact. So we'll be talking to Meharry. My hope would be that they're going to be good faith conversants in the timing of that lease, so that if this process takes some time otherwise, I think it would be very difficult to imagine locating, finding a site, getting the real estate if it's not already public land. If it is public land, still finding a construction timeline that got everything where we wanted to be by 2027. We also would love to evaluate where it is and see. I think some of this sense that the hospital would need to move had a lot to do with perceived tension between leadership at Meharry and leadership in Nashville General. If that tension turns out to not exist, then there may still be an opportunity there, and we're going to take that into consideration too.
All right, talking about construction and building things leads us to another popular topic, housing shortage.
Yeah.
Late last month, Metro Planning Department released its results on a housing and infrastructure study. What was the goal of the study?
Yeah, so the Housing and Infrastructure Study was a response by the Housing Division and the Planning Department to Metro Council running a package of bills that became known as NEST. So this has really all been playing out in the kind of interactions between Metro Council and the Planning Department. We've been paying attention to this because I think Greg Claxton, one of the planners who's been leading on this, has been just a stellar member of the Metro team working. I remember meeting him way back when, 10 years ago, when Nashville Next was getting underway, and seeing the level of care and detail he put into that, the thoughtfulness, that has been followed up many other times. He's helped us dramatically improve the capital improvements budget process in Metro as part of because planning is involved in that as well. And now seeing I think he's coming at this also from a very thoughtful perspective of helping council members and the community at large understand the need and some of the policy tools available to enable us to get to a level of generating new homes that meets our new neighbors. Because we, Khalil, I'll come back to it. It's something I heard last year from Mayor Dean is the greatest compliment anyone can pay a city is to choose to live there. And I think that's really true in so many ways. And so I think we have a city that is continuing to attract people who recognize why this is a great place to live. And that means all of us as a city and down to the neighborhood level have some need to think about where people are going to be in. So that's what we've observed is Greg is responding to council's interest in, hey, if we looked at land use, could we even accomplish this with our current infrastructure delivery model? And that's, I think Greg's been trying to help them and frankly help us as a city answer that question.
One of the most eye-popping things from the report suggests that families earning a median annual income of about $100,000 can't afford a home in about 90% of Nashville neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And that percentage increases to 99% if you're Hispanic or Black. What can the city do to make Nashville just more affordable to all homeowners?
Yeah, this is so the other thing that we are expecting to be an important companion to this housing and infrastructure study is something that had already started when I took office, and we are expecting final delivery. Fingers crossed, it looks like this table is wood, so I will knock on it in time for us to factor it into our budget process this year as a unified housing strategy that the Housing Division at Metro Planning is also leading. We think that's going to have some new models for funding to consider. We think that's going to encourage us to look at different approaches to getting there. And I think it's going to, like the housing and infrastructure study, really give us a sharp focus on need in terms of types of housing. It's a little disappointed to see that some of the funding proposed in Governor Lee's budget that would have enabled some funding for some single-family homes across Tennessee did not make it through the final budget process, it appears. But we've seen state legislators actually also start to jump in here. We've seen some new approaches to voluntary incentives emerge out of leadership from Chattanooga. And so we're hoping to have a comprehensive look at the need side of the equation and some opportunities for funding policy and strategy for how we meet that on the supply side. And so hoping to have that in the next few weeks.
All right. We're going to take a call. We have Andy who's on the road. Andy, thank you for giving us a call. What would you like to ask or mention to Mayor O'Connell?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to say that it's an honor to speak with two outstanding human beings. I hope that the conversation between the two of you continues into the future in some form.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I am not calling about a monorail to the East Bank, but I am calling about something that is of importance to many of us in the creative industry in Nashville. I've been in the industry here for about 30 years, and the critical thing that I've come to understand is that we have a multi-billion-dollar entertainment industry here, but the vast majority of people that I know in the industry, including myself, live outside Davidson County. But we have no voice on any of the commissions or any of the aspects of the city to which we contribute a very substantial degree to the economy of the city. And our contributions to the city have obviously helped tourism, have helped with aspects, and of course as revenue contributes for any expenses related to the city. I will take my. I don't expect an answer now. I just wanted your big brain to think about that, because it's like we are not represented, and we have contributed a great deal to the creative industries here. We have no voice. Thank you, and I'll take my answer off the air. Thank you very much.
Thank you for giving us a call, Andy. Really appreciate it. So what Andy is saying is that many people who work in the entertainment industry don't live in Nashville. Therefore, they're prohibited from being on any community boards or advisory boards regarding entertainment in the town.
It's a real challenge. We have this conversation all the time where I think we have to be sensitive to the things that become regional or statewide. But I think for us, from a local authority standpoint, I mean, it's very similar. I mean, I would love to be in a position where we knew that more of our metro workforce could afford to live in the city of Nashville. I mean, that's one of the things is ideally you have teachers teaching students who live in the same community. You have police and firefighters adding public safety to the communities that they live in. And sometimes that's not possible on a salary basis. But I think it would be very difficult to imagine, opening the door. So if you look at the dozens of public boards and commissions we have in the city of Nashville, many of them have direct interaction with Metro Nashville and Davidson County taxpayer monies. And I think from that standpoint, it is important to maintain some version of local authority there. But we also do have regional forums like the Greater Nashville Regional Council. We have the Regional Transportation Authority. We have regional nonprofit organizations like Cumberland Region Tomorrow. And many of these, including GNRC, the Greater Nashville Regional Council, they're committed to a platform of economic development, among other things. They work on senior programs. They have a great regional volunteer program. And so we do try to take stock of that. But I'll say to Andy's bottom line point, I think one of the things that we are deeply committed to in the mayor's office is the idea of ensuring that our overall entertainment ecosystem remains vibrant and successful. And so we don't ever want to give up on the idea of our identity as Music City, but we also want to embrace our presence as Athens of the South. And so the literary arts are a big deal. The idea of an arts community that's vibrant is a big deal. And we also know that we're seeing a significant uptick in interest in film and TV as a companion to all these other places. And so we want to make sure that we have the right public policy apparatus to continue to allow those industries to succeed here.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we return, we'll come back to your calls for Mayor Freddie O'Connell. That means Tina May and Miss D. Marie. Please stay on the line. We're going to get right back to you. Call us at 615-760-2000 to join the conversation. Stay with us. This is Nashville.
Funding for This is Nashville comes from Burr and Foreman Law Firm, serving clients with transactional, litigation, and regulatory needs. Discovering how each client defines a win and working with them every step of the way to achieve it. Burr.com. Funding for This is Nashville comes from you, our listeners, and Music City Prep Clinic, Nashville-based provider for PrEP and offering comprehensive sexual health services in an environment designed to be safe, professional, and shame-free. Learn more at musiccityprep.org.
I'm Khalil A. Kulona, and this is Nashville. It is a Thursday. That means we're opening up the phone lines, but it's also that special Thursday. That means it's Ask the Mayor with Mayor Freddie O'Connell. If you have a question, a concern, praise, or you're just curious, you can address the mayor over the phone. Simply call us up, 615-760-2000. That's 615-760-2000. All you have to do to join the conversation. All right, Mr. Mayor, we've got some phone calls. We are going to go to Lorraine. We're going to go to Miss D. Marie in Nashville. Miss DeMarie, thank you for calling us. What would you like to share?
Well, first of all, let me say I'm glad I came on today because is this your last show or the last time that the mayor will be on the show?
This is the last show that I am hosting with the mayor. My last show will be next Thursday on the 24th.
Well, you have been a huge, huge impact on the Nashville area. So thank you so much for everything that you've done.
Yes, ma'am.
But
Thank you.
the question that I have has to do with education and the fact that if and when the funding from the federal government is moved into where the states are managing it on their own, is there the possibility that we foresee a huge change in the way things are being done at this moment? I'm a member of Propel, which is parents requiring our public education system to lead, and what we advocate for is literacy. That if a child is in the third grade, they should read on a third grade level or above. And we are wondering how the funding is going to affect something like that.
Yeah, DeMarie, that is an incredibly important question that we do not have clear answers to right now. We have, I guess I would say, three things that I can say generally, but they are not necessarily exclusive to education. There are, as you know, the traditional flows of federal funding, including the funding that is supposed to be available to cities and states right now. In many cases, the federal government has acted, in our view, unlawfully in preventing these funds from accessing, from getting to the jurisdictions that are trying to access them, including Nashville. So we are involved in litigation right now for infrastructure funding that we believe to have already been lawfully, fully obligated to the city. It's affected contracts. It's affected local budgets, and we are expecting to implement on the basis of availability of those funds. So we are. There's kind of an ongoing fight right now in multiple locations for funding that was already supposed to be available and suddenly is not available. Separately, we know the federal landscape has changed. We know that the Republican leadership in the White House and Congress is very likely to retool things. As you've indicated, it looks like there will be a shift in multiple different types of funding, not just education-based funding, but multiple streams of funding in kind of back into a state-managed scenario, and so we'll look at that. And third, what we've heard from federal partners who are communicating regularly with folks in D.C. have relayed back to us that whatever funding levels had been in place prior to this year, we should all expect the baseline of wherever that funding is coming through, whether it's states and whatever bucket it's going into, whether it's education, healthcare, infrastructure, we should expect that baseline to be lower. So we're trying to absorb that. We're trying to work with, all of the community partners in all of these spaces, not just, again, education, but also healthcare, housing and homelessness, all of those scenarios, because I will say it does make the budget process at a local level very complicated. It makes it complicated for us on the Metro side. It also makes it incredibly complicated on the Metro school side. But we will try to, keep informing our partners as we learn more. But right now it's a very, very uncertain landscape for how education funding and priorities are going to work.
Thank you.
So rather than passing the ability to manage this to the state, they're actually cutting the funds out from the federal government.
That I think both things are happening. They are shifting the authority in some cases, and they are also reducing funding levels. What I will say specifically to your point about literacy, though, is this is a place where locally here on the ground in Nashville, I do have some optimism. We are continuing to strengthen our partnership and role on the ground for My Brother's Keeper as a literacy program focused on young men of color. We have a new partnership with the Nashville Public Library and Public Library Foundation that ties into Imagination Library that is going to just absolutely accelerate reading material availability across child care centers in Middle Tennessee. You probably already know about the emergence of the Nashville Early Education Coalition as a key partner in early childhood, not just child care, but specifically literacy. And so we have a number of initiatives that are succeeding on their own that do not and haven't ever relied on federal funding. But we also want those programs that do exist today that we know are successful to continue to be funded, and we're going to continue to advocate for that.
Thank you so much for giving us
one final question.
Yes,
Can I
ma'am.
reach out to your office, Mayor O'Connor, and try and figure out how I can play a greater role in helping in some way?
Yeah, please just send us a note to mayor@nashville.gov and please do mention today's call and conversation.
Thank you so much, sir.
You bet. Thank you.
Thanks, William.
Thank you, Dee Marie. Have a beautiful day.
You as well.
All right, we're going to go take another call. We've got Trina in East Nashville. Trina, here we go. Trina, thank you for giving us a call. What would you like to add?
Yes, I am calling about the mayor's evolution on matters of surveillance. As a council member, he was very vocally against license plate readers and pretty much any form of surveillance. And now with the FUSIS proposals and the idea of that, I believe the mayor was quoted in the Nashville Scene saying that people who are concerned about surveillance should throw their phones in the river. So as a trans woman living in Nashville, I believed the mayor when he said he wanted me to stay. But if we have this passed, I do not believe that the guardrails bill will do nothing in defense of the federal government or ICE or any of the other things that the federal government is doing. People that are afraid of this are deathly afraid of this, and with good reason. But the mayor's evolution on this seems inexplicable. And I would just like to see if we can get a response, like a candid response, as to why this pivot has been so drastic.
Trina, thanks. I would say, like anything, I listened to all the arguments, and I would say the proposals we saw were offered to us on the Metro Council as non-negotiables, and we have taken from day one a very different approach. I committed early to revising the approach to license plate readers in particular and going out to the community. We had our own series of community meetings. We invited community groups into the mayor's office to raise those concerns, and we factored those into the overall policy landscape for license plate readers. Similarly, with regard to FUSIS, we stopped it as soon as we realized that the original program had happened without the required public hearing, and we have gone back, and we absolutely have a disagreement about the efficacy or potential efficacy of the guardrails, because we are unaware of a program that has a kill switch that is available to both the administration and Metro Council. And right now, we believe that the policy framework in which FUSIS could become active is the most rigorous and guardrail-oriented in the country. And so what we are trying to do is make sure that as we offer public safety and personal safety simultaneously, that we are able to ensure that police can involve themselves in crime resolution. We have seen after COVID, there were many cities across the country that saw increases in crime rates. We have seen some reduction since then, but we do want to make sure we're fairly evaluating all the public safety tools that law enforcement professionals are presenting. I would not say it's nearly as extreme a position change as you've indicated, and that we are trying to listen to concerns, and we are tracking all of the landscape that our partners continue to share with us and advocating where the fears and concerns are, whether it is in the LGBT community, immigration community. We are constantly in contact with people sharing those concerns.
Trina, thank you so much.
It seems like if it passes, you will be actively ignoring all of those communities.
I disagree. The reason the guardrails exist are because of concerns surfaced directly from those communities.
Trina, about ICE and the federal government overrunning any guardrails you think you've put in place. We cannot trust this.
Well, it's best for all of us to stay vigilant on top of it. And Trina, I thank you very much for coming in and expressing your views and adding to the conversation. Really appreciate it. I've got to get to some more phone calls. Have a beautiful, beautiful day, okay?
I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to get to May. May is out in Nashville. May, what would you like to ask Mayor O'Connell?
Hello. Thank you for taking my call. So I am a District 7 constituent, and me and my neighbors are up against rezones like the one at 1265 McGavick, where recently Emily Benedict and Dale and Associates were able to push through a 6-property dense development on a 0.45 acre lot right at the bend of McGavick, where it turns into Riverside Village. And our neighbors attended the rezone hearing. We wrote and called council members. We started a petition. We showed up at the Metro Planning Commission's hearing, and we were overwhelmingly against the development, in particular because the two-lane McGavick and that bend can't safely support the kind of density that Emily Benedict is helping to push through. And despite our constituents overwhelmingly speaking out against irresponsible development like the one at 1265 McGavick, somehow Emily Benedict is helping to push these developments through, and they're calling it affordable housing. But as a brown person, I take offense to that because, you know, I've seen, especially with the history of rezones, like people calling something affordable housing. It's ridiculous to say that something that's affordable to someone with a high middle class income is going to be affordable to someone with a lower income. And so we're not buying the affordable housing, proposals that people like Emily Benedict are using in these meetings to push these through. And, you know, the study talks about supporting infrastructure improvements to go along with these dense developments, but we're not seeing it, and we don't know how that would happen along a corridor like McGavick. So if you could talk about density and responsible density, affordable housing, and everything that the Unified Housing Strategies recommendation propose, how you're actually seeing that happen in places like District 7, where we're seeing the exact opposite that study is recommending. We're seeing that being executed.
Yeah, I'm happy to try to tackle some of this. I know this is a long and detailed process, it sounds like, and I know from 8 years on the Metro Council as a district council member, I stewarded a number of rezoning requests, and in almost all cases, including in my own neighborhood, we tended to try to do the work. And so I will tell you from my personal standpoint, it was fairly rare that we wound up with any kind of material opposition. But I'll say too, when I was on district council, the bills I paid most attention to that my colleagues were bringing that may have had some opposition, there's a difference between rezoning requests that are supported by policy and at the community plan level and down to the parcel level, and those that are opposed by policy and basically become disapproved by the Planning Commission. And in the case that I think you're talking about, because I tend to still keep an eye on disapproved bills that aren't consistent with policy running through council. I think this one seemed to have the support of staff and the Planning Commission and certainly the council member, if not all the members of the community. And I think that's maybe the trickiest balancing act of all, is if our citywide planning process through Nashville Next, if the community plan process, if scenarios like the housing and infrastructure study and the still yet to be finalized unified housing strategy are looking at scenarios, we do want to meet those infrastructure needs. It's exactly why the 86 miles of sidewalks that are coming thanks to the passage of Choose How You Move and the strengthening the corridors right along there, as we go out from the heart of downtown out Main Street and Gallatin Pike through East Nashville and into Inglewood and Madison, the increase of service levels on those corridors and the increase of sidewalks coming to those corridors out of communities is going to mean that we should be seeing the infrastructure improvements. I'm excited because actually literally right after this show, I'm going back home to my neighborhood in Salem Town to break ground on a brand new corridor aligned affordable housing for seniors project that's supported by the Barnes Housing Trust Fund. But interestingly, that was also supported by policy, and we had some newer neighbors who lived closer to it that objected to some of the density. But I would say still to the day that we had a lot of numbers who understood exactly why it mattered that we're going to try to keep older neighbors able to live in place, especially in a context where you've got Cheatham Place right across the street. A lot of neighbors who have tried to age in place have seen their cost of living increase. And so we're trying to put back downward pressure on that. So I'm excited for my next stop today.
All right, May.
That's one of the questions that...
I'm sorry, May. I got to cut in. The mayor has a hard out. He has got to go. We can take no more questions at the moment. Really appreciate you calling and adding to the conversation, though. Thank you so much. Hey, and Lorraine and Vicky, Want to let you know that we are going to get your questions to the mayor's people so they will be addressed, and Mayor O'Connell will have a chance to do it, but we've got to let him go right now. As he said, he's got somewhere else to be. So I want to take this time to thank Mayor O'Connell for joining us today. For me personally, it's been a joy every month to get to see you in action, doing what a public servant's supposed to do. Talk to his constituents. Thank you again.
Khalil, thanks for helping create this platform right here at WPLN. I know listeners will miss you. I will miss you, and I've really enjoyed this conversation over the past couple of years.
I appreciate it, sir. I appreciate it. Have a beautiful day, okay?
You too.
All right, y'all.
Thanks.
We're taking one last break. When we return, we'll talk with Jaffee Judah of Recycle and Reinvest about how the organization is highlighting environmental justice for the upcoming Earth Day. Stay with us. This is Nashville.
Stay and raise your champagne glass. We want Freddie for a leader. Freddie is a man of class. We want Freddie for a leader. All stairs and raise your champagne glass.
Funding for This Is Nashville comes from Nobody Trashes Tennessee, the state of Tennessee's official litter prevention campaign, managed by TDOT. Details on how to be part of the solution to end littering at nobodytrashestennessee.com.
I'm Khalil A. Colonna, and this is Nashville. It'll be 55 years since the first Earth Day, when we celebrate next Tuesday on April 22nd. Today, when people all over the world take action to preserve and protect the natural world for generations to come. I mean, look, the only planet we have, y'all, so we got to figure something out. Joining us now to talk about his environmental justice advocacy work is Nashville native and entrepreneur Jaffee Judah. He is the founder and executive director of Recycle and Reinvest. Jaffee, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us today, my friend.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having I. It's a pleasure to be here, man. And big ups to you on your journey along the way. I heard you mention this is one of your last episodes. So
yes, sir.
Great to be here. Honored to be here for sure.
I really appreciate that, sir. Okay, it seems like your personal environmental justice journey began at a really young age. You grew up with your grandparents and they gardened. Mm-hmm. They were avid gardeners. What did they teach you?
They taught me more than what I could hold on to, I would say. But they taught me to always stay grounded with the earth as a way to, express myself in a different way, but also as a way to just channel calmness, channel peace, have a space where I could just have a great time, right? Yeah. That's what it was for me growing up. And as I grew older, it became even more important to me that I'm not only involved in the garden space, but I'm also advocating for those who cannot advocate for themselves, or at least creating spaces for those who can advocate for themselves but just don't have the correct platform to do such.
You mentioned that the experience with your grandparents taught you a calmness about being with the earth, and I'm just going to try these young Gen Z language these days. They talk about touching grass when you need to be centered and settled in things. What was that experience like as you've grown older to continue this journey in environmental justice?
Man, you said what was that? Who?
What has it been like for you? Like the development of this, you get this experience as a young man, as a young child, and now you're a fully grown man, and you're still working in this space, touching grass, becoming one with the earth. What has that been like for you?
It has been a wild and fun journey, I would say. Wild because as a youth, I also stepped away from, being in the garden. I stepped away from just being present as a youth. And, as I stepped away and lived a different lifestyle and then came back to, this space of an environmentalist or a gardener, environmental justice advocate, I came back to this space, man, not only finding a sense of calmness, but also a sense of purpose. Right, as I reconnect to the earth, and that's what it's grew into now. It started as something that was a hobby, but it has grew into something that is now a purpose, and how I go about, I would say, setting my identity in this world and in different spaces as a Black man from Nashville, Tennessee. Yeah, so it's like I said, it went from a hobby, but now it's came a part of my career, and it's came a part of me and my eco-conscious habits and eco-conscious lifestyle. They kind of also flow into my art naturally.
And so your life as a young man, you mentioned that as a teenager, you got a little bit older, you stepped away from this life. Then you came back into this world. You created Recycle and founded Recycle and Reinvest. Real quick, just tell me about some of the organizations and some of the programs that the organization hosts.
So our main program is our workforce development program, the Soil Soldiers. This is a program for youth between ages 12 to 21 that gives them an opportunity to receive environmental leadership, get a chance to take financial literacy field trips to the bank, but also get introduced to what is climate change and what is a urban heat island, how does that affect us, and how, what are the options in the green industry, right? And what are the options available for them that they could immerse themselves in that are different from more of the traditional routes that are kind of promoted.
Now, you also have another program called B4L. What does that stand for? And talk to me about that.
Man, so B4L is our artist-led hip-hop advocacy movement, right, that is focused on using their arts as a way to raise awareness about environmental racism. A lot of the members in B4L, as such as myself, we work a 9-to-5, but as well as working a 9-to-5, we find time to go into these communities embracing the Hermes principles, right? The Hermes principles are a set of democratic values that help us remain inclusive, help us to remain centering the voice of the community, making sure that we're moving with an intent that our, I would say, ancestors of environmental justice kind of set before us, and making sure that we're honoring those values as we walk into these communities and have these conversations and create these platforms like B4L, which is an acronym for Bang for Liberation. Bang for Liberation is a eco-conscious hip-hop movement here in Nashville that is working with everyday people where they are, boots on the ground, and creating spaces for them to either engage or learn more about the lack of access and healthy food spaces, lack of the low income and lack of food access spaces, to learn about, why we have an influx of not only trash, but also pollution, to be a part of conversations and how climate change impacts our mental health, right? A lot of these people have either never been in this space or have been in this space and just don't have that community to continue to, I would say, be of service. Yeah.
And you're offering people a gateway to have that service. Where's your base of operations?
Base of operations in East Nashville, where I'm born and raised, right off Lishy Avenue. If you know, you know. But we also, we put our feet in our services in the inner city of Nashville. We've planted almost 50 trees in Nashville. We've beautified and cleaned up over 100 neighborhoods from Nashville to Memphis to Knoxville, as well as host different environmental justice festivals every year that we have this year, October 25th, as well as Earth Day in the Hood events. We do a bunch of different events and, like I said, a program or initiatives to, like I said, continue to push forth our efforts in a holistic way that will hopefully improve the sustainability culture that we have, especially here in Nashville. Yeah.
You mentioned something about music and,
Yes, sir.
and B4L being a environmentally justice hip hop gathering group and organization. You're an artist, you mentioned. You want to amplify environmental justice in your work and help foster youth empowerment. It's a title of your latest song. It's called Soil Soldiers, featuring B4L. Let's take a listen to it right now.
Let's go.
From my elders, I'm a soil soldier, well connected in my city, and I'm well respected. Ain't no crashing out for real, I've been getting healthy. Let the streets know what it is, I'm a soil soldier. Let the streets know what it is, I'm a soil soldier.
cause neighborhoods get extorted. Grocery stores aborted, the rich who I can't afford it. The buses don't run accordingly. My cousin said he gon' trap, cause 2 jobs is boring. Planting trees is cool, but they need a leader to show them. Printing money by gardening, selling juices and oranges. Remember my true importance, keeping my life in order. My roots build resilience and recognize what destroyed us. Exploring the social change and organizing with morals. Why?
Yo, that goes hard right there.
Thank you, sir.
That goes very hard right there.
Healthy
okay,
hip-hop.
so yeah, it's healthy hip hop. It reminds me of a song. I'm forgetting the young man's name. He said he's got a song. It's not too. I can't say it all on air, but it's called "Eat a Salad." Like, I've noticed a trend in hip hop, particularly a little bit more of the hardcore stuff, where people were used to hearing gangster lyrics on top of people taking it and flipping it to a positive message. And that song really reminds me. It continues on that trend, and I hope that continues to grow. But you know, what I'm thinking about is when you were talking about food deserts and things, you all work with at the Magruder Center. You have a garden there, right?
Correct. We do a lot of work with the Nashville Food Project. And through our partnerships, we're able to get access to that space and bring more people from the community in this space and have these tough discussions about the intersectional issues of trash and crime, the importance of land access, and how we can work as a community to collectively not only build power, but build a conscience around, healthy living, healthy eating, healthy people, right? Healthy community is what we're striving for sure.
All right, Earth Day is coming up, but you all are celebrating on Saturday, I believe, Earth Day in the Hood. Tell me more about that.
Earth Day in the Hood, man, is a great event where we are more appropriately approaching this celebration by including BIPOC and Black communities. Earth Day in the Hood will happen at Pruitt Library April 19th on Saturday, and it's a 2-part event. The first half is a community cleanup from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Our B4L generals will be on site to welcome everybody and get everyone registered, signed up, go over the safety protocols, and make sure we have a successful community cleanup on Charles E. Davis, the street that we have adopted. Thank you to NDOT for being one of our sponsors and committed supporters. And then after 11 to 1, we will go into our main event where we have a bunch of different eco art activities. Safe and Surrender will be out there turning abandoned guns or old metal into jewelry and garden tools. We'll also have MJ Parker out there doing different garden and not garden but paint workshops. We'll have Jimmy Mack. She is our host of the event, and Jimmy Mack is an amazing host. And I not only just have an amazing host and great diversity of workshops, we'll also have different guest speakers such as Denzel Caldwell, as well as Sudeep. The Sunrise Movement has been a strong influence and I would say a great sponsor of our event as well. And they'll be in the space, talking about community solar, and we'll have Denzel Caldwell coming to speak about the importance of community safety. So aside from all these different things, we'll also have free haircuts and free vegan food by Radical Rabbit. It'll be a great, great experience and time for the youth, for the whole family, to come out and celebrate Earth Day in the Hood from an environmental justice lens with a hip-hop sprinkle.
Okay, so I got about 30 seconds left. If someone is listening and they want to become a soil soldier or become a part of the Soil Soldier program, what should they do?
Man, that's easy. So first, acknowledge it, right? Acknowledge that you are a soil soldier. And then once you acknowledge it, you find us at recyclereinvest.org. Click the programs page and you'll find all the information on how to get your youth signed up for our 8-week program starting this summer, in June, as well as if you're interested in learning more about the B4L membership and what that looks like and how to be more involved to create a more eco-conscious Nashville, it's also on Recycle Reinvest.
I want to thank you so much for being here. Jaffee Judah is the executive director of Recycle Reinvest, and you can discover more about their upcoming events at recyclereinvest.org. Jaffee, thank you for being here.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Okay. As some of you may have heard, soon I will be leaving This Is Nashville and Nashville Public Radio. It's been a glorious 3 years hosting this show. It's truly been one of the highlights of my life to be here with you for an hour a day. My last show is a week from today, April 24th. We're going to open up the phone lines so you can ask me anything. Well, almost anything. And I'll answer honestly, even though my mom will be listening. So one more thing, the Monday profile is all about me. So be sure to tune in. And thanks to you for tuning in this hour. This is Nashville is a production of Nashville Public Radio. Today's episode was produced by Mary Mancini and Josh Deepen. It was directed by Tasha A.F. Lemley. Josh Deepen took care of the phones today. Our technical director and board operators, Liv Lombardi. The masterminds behind our theme music are Larange and Namir Blade. You can listen back at thisisnashville.org or wherever you get good podcasts. And the conversation does not end here. Comment and tell us what you want to hear on the show by leaving us a message at 615-751-2500. You can also find us on the socials, Blue Sky, Instagram, and X at This Is Nashville. This is Nashville. I'm Khalil A. Colonna. We'll see you on Monday, everybody. And to be good to each other.